I do what I do. Hey man, I do what I do.
Fam, I just discovered the Hodge twins on YouTube. I know, I'm late to the party. But y'all, that got to be the most heartbreaking shit I ever seen. And it's coming from somebody that's fairly neutral. I like to use my common sense before I put my biases in the words, you know what I mean? I don't like to lean left or right and shit like that, but that's heartbreaking, man. And I discovered from somebody else YouTube, they was showing me all the shit they say on Twitter, man. All the stuff they was talking about as far as they wanted to join the all-white team. See, I can't tell if it's satire. They could be joking. I don't know enough about their content, but I don't know, man. I see a lot of that. Old buddy from Fresh and Fit, he'll get, just disrespectful, man. How they try to portray, it's kind of ironic because they whole thing is black people ain't a monolith, and I get that. We don't all share the same ideology, and there's nothing wrong with it. But get to the point to where them brothers was speaking on leaving the country if it becomes majority us. Know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And they mama is, from my understanding, us. Oh man, I get, man, having a different opinion, but I never get the boot licking. Because everybody entitled to their opinion. Don't get me wrong, but that shit it's different seeing it, man. It's real different seeing it. It must be how the other side felt when they people was marching with Dr. King or something. They like, what you doing? What are you doing? I get it. Because that shit it's weird to look at, man. And what are the odds twins, both of them 2 out of 2, just can't stand looking at themselves because they look like regular niggas. No disrespect, because clearly they don't want to be referred to as that. But man, I don't know, man. And old buddy, Officer Tatum, bro. That's who it is. Officer Tatum. I see a whole lot of his clips on like Facebook and shit. I see what his angle is. He do what he do. I don't judge. I say, man, whatever, bro. Cause I like a whole lot of shit that's on the other side of anything that he rocking with. And we all know what type of, you know what I'm saying, females they into. No disrespect, but it's a certain demographic, man, for sure. But I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful, but the shit is just, it's weird to see, man. It's weird to see. Especially coming from where I come from. It's odd to see brothers talk and act like that. Now, ain't nobody perfect. I get that shit. But damn, bro, that shit, I don't know, man.
Hodge's twins exposed.
Bad Guy 215, man. Let's speak on the Hodge twins. Yo, the Hodge twins, what's going on, bro? I know y'all boys gonna see this video, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of y'all loyal fans and everything. I be watching y'all and everything, you see what I'm saying? Because I do like y'all, you know what I'm saying, output when it comes to things. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing is, everybody is going mad because they feel like y'all building y'all platform and now y'all turning it around, you know what I'm saying, on the same people that help you build your platform. See, that's how things work, man. You can't target a certain goddamn crowd. You see what I'm saying? The only person y'all targeting is the blacks, and it's making it hard for y'all because it seems like y'all being real racist or something like that because y'all are mixed people. People are paying y'all attention and we are listening to y'all. It's like black people discuss y'all. It's like black people can't get close to y'all or rub your skin. That's how I'm looking at you guys. You see what I'm saying? You guys act like y'all are uppity white people. Uppity white people. That's how y'all acting. And I want y'all to snatch this video. Because this is the most important one. Stop acting like uppity white people and stick to your black heritage. You got black in your blood, black in your DNA. You are a black man. I don't care how you carry yourself. You got some black people that carry themselves great. You see what I'm saying? With respect and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? But y'all still are black people, man. Y'all need to be out there using y'all platform to uplift and motivate the black people instead of bashing them all the time. And now stuff is turning around on y'all and they ready to get on y'all head. But y'all think y'all ain't doing nothing wrong, but you're not fighting for your people. You're not fighting for your people. Now y'all got an answer to that. Y'all got an answer to that. You see what I'm saying? Stop being so biased and racist when it comes to the black man and goddamn try to uplift them, man, instead of trying to bash them every little chance y'all get. Bad guy 215, blah.
Hodge twins were so peak when they were younger and they were doing those advice videos. Why did they turn racist against, like, all black people? They're just black themselves and racist. I mean, what? What happened? What? They were like the big brothers of the internet. They gave great, real advice that had some bad moments. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't great advice. It was funny, though. It was funny how they gave the advice. But I'm just trying to figure out, when did they go racist? Selling out.
When I say it hurts to make a video talking about Hodge twins, it hurts to make a video talking about Hodge twins. Hodge twins don't really want to make racism go away. And the reason why I say that, the reason why I know that, is because there's a clear division that they're trying to keep. They're trying to always talk about a black person in a negative way and build up a white person. You should be building both people. Both people are good. There's not one race that's just inherently bad. And if it is the case, why does it have to be the black person that's inherently bad, inherently stupid? So there's a clear division that you're constantly, here's a big word that y'all want to use all the time, perpetuate. Y'all want to perpetuate how stupid and how ignorant and how aggressive and all of the stuff black people is. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with you spreading your opinions, I guess. It's just kind of crazy, and it's like, there's a level of hate that has to be felt for people like that to make videos every day about the same type of shit.
Addressing something else in my DM, I've had the total displeasure of coming across the Hodge twins and their content. Honey, let me explain something to y'all. That entire platform is rage bait. Okay, you have two black men, avid pro-Trump supporters who stereotype the black audience, go all the way down their page. They speak about white people with respect, even if they're reporting on a crime. When they speak about black people, there's no respect, there's no nothing. It's miss this, sir this, ma'am this, when they speak about a white person who's committed a crime, or they're speaking about something that's, going on in a white community. But when it comes to black people or brown people, any person of color, it's criminal and, just all kind of stereotypical terms that paints people of color in a negative light. I want y'all to realize agendas when you see it, and they are two of many who don't understand. You are a person of color yourself. You are two black men, okay? They are not going to accept you. All right. It's given Hop and Bob from, y'all remember the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? They will always see you as Hop and Bob. You are to perpetuate their narratives, push their agendas, but you will never be seen as equal to them. Why would they not like you? You're doing the work for them. No amount of bashing the black and brown communities is going to get you that white acceptance you crave so much. The Hodge twins, I'm glad I haven't seen them on TikTok, but the screenshot of what they post on other platforms is in my DM. Honey, block them, block them, block them.
I'm so happy that the Hodge twins is getting their just due on YouTube, and everybody is starting to see how fucking fake they are. Because I used to watch the Hodge twins like years ago when they were like into bodybuilding and they were doing like more comedic type stuff on their channels. But now all of a sudden, they done became some fake ass panderers where they like to put the black community down, and I feel like that's just some bullshit when your ass is half black and you walking around here looking like a light-skinned nigga. And that's why when you put that shit on Twitter or whatever the fuck it was, and you asked that boy, can y'all live in that all-white town? And he said, oh, God bless the Hodge twins. But no, that was reminding your ass that you're just still black in America. But unfortunately, since you want to get out here and be fake as fuck, pander to these fucking racists, now black folks don't fuck with you either. And I'm glad that it's blowing up. I'm glad that the other YouTube creators are making videos about the Hodge twins, exposing how fucking fake they are. Because, yeah, y'all fake, but y'all still ain't one of us either. Bye.
We done got on Tyrone Maddox. Now it's time to give them the dumbass Hodge twins. What in the fuck happened to the goddamn Hodge twins? From dudes who was funny as hell back in the day. I'm talking about pure funny. They used to be on some shit like, fuck. Shit like that. You get what I'm saying? Just randomly say that out the blue. I'm talking about they was the ones who had Tyrone Madness laughing. You get what I'm saying? Now it's just like, they're super politicians. I thought goddamn Tyrone was like that. Nah, them motherfuckers are super into that shit. And I ain't gonna lie, their content now, pure ass. I just don't fuck with that shit. And I was like, it's crazy how like when you go up on YouTube, how much that shit changed people, or how much fame, money. It's just crazy, bro. Like, I don't even watch the Hodge twins at all. And I ain't gonna lie, if nobody watch them no more, I don't even blame you, bro. Because the shit I don't even know what the fuck these motherfuckers be talking about these days, bro. Like, we went from fucking random drive-thrus, fucking comedic, laughter, this, that, the third, to pure, oh, this, that, conservative, oh, this, that, all rednecks. Bro, what the fuck happened to y'all Hodge twins? Y'all was once the GOATs. Y'all not the GOATs no more. I don't even fuck with that shit that y'all doing. Y'all gotta tighten the fuck up. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people will agree with that shit. Let me know what y'all think down below, bro.
You know, I was never going to talk about these two niggas, but I'm actually kind of curious as to what would happen in my comments if I do. Hi, Hodge twins. I used to be a fan. I used to watch your videos on here, on Instagram, and anywhere else of y'all chilling in your car talking about, oh, my brother this and my brother that and da. And at that point, it should have crossed my mind that maybe something wasn't right about these two niggas. But here I am in 2025, October of 2025, constantly seeing YouTube videos about these niggas and their receipts and how they've been exposed and how white people don't even fuck with them. And I want to understand, how are you two light-skinned motherfuckers going to tell us how to be better? Oh, black people need to be better. You know how many motherfuckers have said that over the 33 years of my life, and they didn't hate black people? They didn't look down on black people the way y'all do? I would listen to fucking Dr. Umar before I listened to you two. And Dr. Umar is just as big as a liar as you two. But at least this nigga cares about us to some extent. I don't know if that school's opening up anytime soon, but at least he cares about us in some extent. Y'all don't even steal money from us. Y'all decide y'all want to just take easy money from white people that don't fucking like you. I don't understand coons like y'all.
What's up, everybody? This is Dennis Sperling, and I want to comment on what I see happening on YouTube between the black people who basically have exposed themselves as sycophants and stooges. I guess another way to describe them would be sellouts and nocturnal animals, often referred to as raccoons, without the rack. And you see black people really checking them on that. And what happened was that Charlie Kirk's passing acted as something like a litmus test. And depending on where you landed after his death and how you positioned yourself and what you said, whether or not you condemned the death is irrelevant, but those who tried to justify his quote-unquote political speech as justified, as truthful, who tried to make him out to be some sort of Martin Luther King-esque figure, those people, especially the black ones, were labeled coons and sellouts and bootlickers and the young people are letting them have it, man. And I just find it remarkable. But and the reason I say that is because it's in history we always, as a people, clean house. And we will allow the sycophants and the sellouts to go on for some time, but You know, at some point we clean house. At some point, the day comes when we call them. You know, one thing about foundational Black American culture and its development is that we are especially attuned to racism, and we are especially attuned to proponents of racism, whether or not they come from other countries and they practice anti-Black racism or racism in general, because of the alarm bells that we have built into our culture. We see it. We identify it. Some of us may not be educated enough or well-spoken enough to articulate what it is, but we can feel it, if you will. And so we sense anti-Black racism, and we call it. Now, when that becomes intra-anti-Black racism, when you have Black people, whether they be foreign or domestic, whether they be foundational Black American, whether they be Caribbean or African, we see it for what it is. And when we see anti-Black racism, we call it out. Now, the truth is we've always had sycophants, house Negroes, sellouts, Uncle Toms, if you will, in the Black community. And Brother Malcolm X famously called it out, and he explained to an audience back when he was giving one of his most famous speeches, he explained what a house Negro was. And basically, Brother Malcolm said, you know, the house Negro loved himself. He loved his white master more than he loved himself. And so, and he identified with the white master so much so that he inherited his identity. Interesting, right? Malcolm's example was when the white master said, "We sick," he said he was sick. Then the house Negro said, "We sick, boss?" Or if the master's house burnt down, the master said, "Yeah, our house burnt down," knowing full well that that wasn't his. But that's the level of delusion that you have with a lot of what we call house Negroes or sellouts. And, you know, Neely Fuller, I don't know if you guys know who Neely Fuller is, but I would suggest you look him up. He had a very profound statement. And he said, we can't blame the victims of white supremacy racism for how they respond to it. And when I heard that some years back, I took it to heart. However, and again, we get it. Everybody's under pressure, but there's a certain line that you cannot cross. And so what you see happening now is, and again, what was, is, and shall be. So now we have these modern day YouTube originating house Negroes or sellouts. And, you know, for a while we, as the Black community, just tolerated it. You know, you have the names, you have your Candace Owens and your Andrew Tates, you have your Hodge twins, Officer Tatum, you know, all the general cast of characters. There's nothing new about these people. They all say the same thing. And the difference between, and they will all proclaim that they're just speaking honest about Black people. But I notice in their rhetoric, they never actually speak the complete truth. For instance, you can talk about the Black male incarceration rate, but they don't talk about the fact that 59% of Black men, by the time they reach middle age, are in the middle class. That could be upper middle class, lower middle class, or they could even be rich. By the time they hit middle age, and I want to say that again, by the time Black people hit middle age, Black men specifically, they're upper middle class, or rich. They never talk about the fact that we as foundational Black Americans have 1.7 million millionaires. What that translates to is that there are 1,700,000 millionaires who are Black in the United States. They don't talk about the fact that 1 in 20 Black-run households are worth $1 million or more. And so when they speak the truth, they're only speaking negative facts. They will take facts from the white supremacist, racist, white nationalist groups, the misquotes from the FBI statistics, and make it seem as though the black people are the scourge of America, when the truth is we only represent a small, tiny percentage, and we're only isolated in any significant numbers in about 26 major cities along the Mid-Atlantic, South Gulf Coast region, okay? Most of us are down south, so when there's issues in places like Montana, Idaho, Utah, etc., those aren't even issues that we have anything to do with, yet we get blamed for it. And when you have these sycophants, when you have these black sellouts reinforcing these stereotypes, it gives white people permission to look away from their own doing and look at and blame black people. Again, anytime white people fail in this country, they always look to a black person to vilify, and along with that, there's always a house Negro or a sycophant right along next to them so that they can go ahead and blame black people, and they can actually, and I'm talking about the black sellouts, they'll say the things that the white people can't say without otherwise being perceived as racist. So it's good to see black people, especially on YouTube, cleaning house. Now, you know, setting that argument aside, I want to also point out the fact that, you know, the way you know a person is a sellout is not necessarily by their rhetoric. I judge people by their actions. Who are you married to? I judge people by where do you live? What have you done for black people? What do your children look like? You know, and I say all that to say because you can't, I mean, it's one thing to say, yeah, you know, I'm tired of these black folks, but you live around black people. You support black people. You have a black family. You might have some divergent views, but the truth is, you know, that person is probably just talking, you know, because your actions speak louder than your words. And I say all that to say is, you know, and I'm gonna flip the script on you guys, on the extreme other end, or the other extreme to the sellout, are the so-called pro-blacks, right? And I know you all didn't see that coming, but I want you to hear me for a minute. The sellouts sleep white, the real ones, and so do the pro-blacks. What do I mean by that? I find it amazingly interesting how the same people who hold themselves out as pro-black often have white girlfriends, white wives, they have white husbands, they have white boyfriends. I find that interesting. Whether we're talking about entertainers, whether we're talking about artists, there's you know, we can go into detail after detail, but many of your famous so-called pro-blacks at some point have, you know, married to white people, you know. And I'm not saying one way or the other. I have my opinion on interracial relationships with white people. And look, let me just say this. I always tell people that my preference for myself and my sons, and I ask them, you know, my preference for them is that they marry and date women of African descent. What that means is that they date and marry women who are Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latina, from the continent of Africa, or Black American, foundational Black American, or British of African descent. It doesn't matter to me. You see, that's my preference for them. Now, if they find somebody that they love and it's genuine love, and that person treats them with love and respect, and they get along peaceably and they have a wonderful relationship, who am I to interfere with that? It's not my position to interfere with that. And, you know, I will support it, you know. But, again, my preference is for my sons to marry black women or women of African descent. Doesn't matter what part of the world they're from, that's just my preference. Now, I say all that to say, oftentimes when I see people who are proclaimed pro-black and then I look into their interior lives and their family lives and they're dating white, of course, that's going to make me think otherwise. And I say all that to say that the same people who we call Uncle Toms and sellouts and raccoons are just the other side of the coin to the pro-blacks, because they all sleep white. They're all extreme with their rhetoric, and at the end of the day, they're all scamming black people. They don't even believe what they say. They're just truly opportunists. And the longer you live, the more you will realize these same people they can go from being sellouts to pro-black in the same day. That's the problem with extremism. They don't have any core values that they actually believe in, that are actually set in stone. They kind of go with the wind. They're emotional about it. There's absolutely no way you can proclaim yourself to be a pro-black and still remain in the United States, living in a European-based culture, although it may be heavily influenced by foundational black American culture. You wear European clothes. Every piece of money that is exchanged hands so you can buy your products and receive for your time and energy and work is a European president or a European descendant who's a president. European style homes, European cars. Okay, so how pro-black are you really? You know, how much do you really want to buck the system? No, the truth is the same thing that pro-blacks and these Uncle Toms have in common is they don't really want to change anything. They just want a better position under the system of white supremacy racism. That's the problem with extremists. And they will have you go off on this tangent and go off on that tangent, and they don't even believe it themselves. Look on YouTube. And I won't name names at this time, but they know that I know who they are. The same so-called pro-blacks, the same people who push this pro-black rhetoric, they have white women in their lives, white girlfriends, whether we're talking about, and I'm talking about white. I'm talking about European Nordic whites. I'm talking about blonde-haired, blue-eyed white. I'm not talking about Asian. I'm not talking about light-skinned Latinas. I'm not talking about half-white black people. I'm talking about straight-up white. Out of all the women in the world, your favorite pro-black YouTubers have chosen to date, marry, and impregnate white women. So what does that say about them? And oftentimes they don't even reveal their true identity. That's the cold thing about it, you see? I've sued a couple of them, you see? This is what I'm trying to explain to you all. These are who you do. These same pro-blacks are just having you believe one, and that's oftentimes why they never reveal their actual identity. But, people who don't reveal their identity are typically they have something to hide. It's not because somebody's necessarily looking for them, because anyone who wants to know who they are will find out who they are. They just don't want the public to see them, because members of the public will identify them for who they are and let the public know who this person really is. They'll pull your whole card, as they said back in the day when I was a youngster. But I want you all to be mindful of that, okay? Extremism on any position is number one, it's hollow, it's unintelligent, and it reeks of emotional response. So, keep that in mind, family. And again, there's nothing wrong with calling out these sycophants and these house Negroes and these Uncle Toms, and I salute you folk for doing it. But on the other end, be mindful of the fact that the other extreme, the so-called pro-black extreme, is the same coin, just a different side. Okay, the truth is all of them are in it for something. They're in it for material gain. They want money. They want clout. They want status. And you all just need to be mindful of that, family. But you know, we'll see what happens with this. I find it very interesting. I'm going to continue forward with what I like to do. And as you all know, I have broadened my position. By trade, I'm an attorney. And several years back, I guess over a decade, I opened up my social media and began to advocate on behalf of black men. Because at that time, it was highly unpopular to speak up on behalf of black men or try to put black men's position, on sensitive matter in the public ethos. You would literally argue down. But now you have so many other people who have taken up that mantle, and I think that is righteous, and not just lay people, but doctors, we medical doctors, legislators. We've gotten to the point now you actually have legislation on the books that supports not just black men, but men in general, that is now more favorable as far as family laws, divorce laws, etc. So, that work is done. However, and of course, I still will continue to be an advocate for black men, whether we're talking about Aaron the plumber, or Kevin the Samuels, or any of the other people I've stood up for in the past when it seemed like everybody was against them. And I do that because as a black man, I have an obligation to stand up for my brothers, whether the world thinks they're right or wrong, okay? Even one of my most unpopular positions was when I stood up for P. Diddy, and now you see he's been vindicated. The only thing the man did was, apparently he had an affinity for baby oil and whatnot, but there's a lot of freaks and weirdos out there, and we in the black community have our own freaks and weirdos, and he apparently is one of them, according to the court case. But the bottom line is I broadened my advocacy, if you will, to include the entire foundational black American family. Now, that does not mean I'm not going to continue advocating for black men, but in this particular racial environment that we live in, it is unwise for us to continue fighting and bickering with each other, because the people that truly don't like us will take that information, and this includes the sycophants, this includes the House Negroes and the pro-blacks, because the pro-blacks, we know what the House Negroes do. They take the bickering that we have amongst each other, and then they take it and they throw it back at us, and they and basically say, well, your woman said this about you, or your man said this about you. So you have the sellouts saying the same thing to black men that black women use to disparage us. You have the same sellouts and House Negroes calling black women on single motherhood and degeneracy that black men call black women on, but they do it without love. And then on the flip side, you got pro-blacks who will turn around and say, yeah, sister, the black man is keeping you down, blah, blah, and they will take the same talking points that black women say about black men and flip the script and reinforce, even if it is delusional, what black women say about black men, just for the purposes of getting those sisters on their side. That's what you see a lot of folk like Dr. Umar Johnson used to do. He would take the same angry talking points spewed by black women, flip the script, wrap it up in some pseudoscience, and give it back to the sisters. You have a room full of women in there, co-signing and clapping and of course donating and purchasing books. That apparently didn't work out well, as we see what's happening with that brother. But the bottom line is, all of these folks use these talking points that we throw at each other, the anger, which is often driven by anger and frustration, and they use it against us. So at this particular time, as far as the gender war is concerned, it might be time to let that go for a minute, because our open enemy would love to be able to use that against us, and they would use it in a way in which allows them to then begin to target us, you see. And so that's why we need to go ahead and take a chill pill on the gender war. We can get back to arguing amongst ourselves in 10, 15 years from now, but at this particular juncture, as long as we are dealing with this racially hostile climate, where, you know, folks are talking about black fatigue, and they're probably going to start trying to set up some policy to alleviate themselves of what they call black fatigue. We might need to chill on the gender war because they're using our words against us. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. I see you all out there. I'm just, if I get too distracted with the comments section, then I will invariably forget to say what I need to say. Okay, and so that's why I'm just trying to follow this train of thought out here. But I appreciate you all. I of course do. But you know, it's again. So I want to rehash that point. It is not that I am going to abate my mission, if you will, to be an advocate for black men. But at this particular time, all of our people need us, because the truth is there is no black community without black men, but without black women, you know, well, we don't have a community either. Okay, so, you know, I live in the black community, okay? I've had 3 major women in my life. You know, I've had my first wife, my child's mother, and my current wife. All of them have been black or of African descent, whether they be straight up foundational black American. Shout out to my wonderful, fantastic, magnificent ex-wife. God, I'm so happy that she got remarried. She got married to a brother about a year or so back. And she's from the 9th Ward of New Orleans. So, you know, that's my 2 oldest sons. And then, of course, my child's mother, okay, who is a woman of Jamaican descent. And then, of course, my current wife, who is an Afro-Latina, if you will. So, you know, all the women in my life are of African descent. But because, you know, Uncle D has a type, you know, it's straight up like that. But the bottom line is, family, you know, I pretty much live the life that allows me to maintain and hold on to my blackness and not pervert it. I don't feel like I have to fit in. If I was running around here with a white woman, you know, then I would have to, you know, I couldn't say the things I want to say. You understand me? And that's why it's important. I mean, you know, and I'm not pro-black, and I'm definitely not a sellout. I'm a black man in America with black sons, and I have some realistic expectations and desires that I want to see fulfilled in my lifetime. That is legacy, life, health, family, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's something that we all carry. You know, I think that's just good common sense. You don't have to be, and that would make me a conservative. Isn't that something? You know, because I want to have a wife and some children that are not pummeled with, you know, rainbow rhetoric. You know, when they're at their elementary school being read to them by a person who's dressed up in a dress, or you know, or et cetera. Okay, but I don't think that. But you can be a conservative person and be focused on the well-being of your family as you see fit, without being a sycophant or a sellout. Just the same, you can support your people and be an advocate for black men and black women and black children and the black family without being a extremist pro-black, so to speak. Just be you. Just be your normal selves. You see? Now, I wanted to get on this point a little bit, you know, as far as black culture, okay? And I kind of hinted at this a little earlier. Black culture here in America, foundational black American culture specifically, this was a culture that was formed in an environment where we were surrounded by people of other ethnic groups that were openly hostile to us, whether we're talking about during slavery, whether we're talking about doing Jim Crow, or we're talking about doing the prison industrial complex, through media, our food, the environment that we lived in. You know, there's a whole genre of law, a body of law related to environmental justice, because oftentimes they would put the industrial waste and chemical plants in the black community. There was an old show back in the day called The Cosby Show, or I'm sorry, Fat Albert. And that whole show was based on the fact that the junkyards and the waste sites were in the black community, so much so that the young people portrayed in the cartoon were able to walk to it. And what this does is it lets you know that and it's not, of course, it's not healthy living next to a waste dump or a junkyard, et cetera, all the chemicals and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, even the way the country is structured, even the way in which, city planning goes, they will put something bad that is undesirable in the black community. There was a time when we had many cities and towns around the country. Right here in Houston, Texas, we had a division of the city commonly referred to as Third Ward. They literally ran a major highway right through the black community. Oftentimes people comment on how poorly constructed Houston is, or how poorly planned Houston is because, in my opinion, they would go out of their way to put a freeway through the black community, which was way out of the way, just so they could have a reason to separate it and divide it. Think about that. But city planning has always been a way in which to take black people's property. The takings clause, which is mirrored in many of the constitution of the respective states, grants the government permission to take property from people. They're supposed to pay you a reasonable, marketable wage for the property, but it never pans out. But the bottom line is, if you run a freeway, a 5-6 lane freeway through a black community, the community is over. You kill businesses, homes, relationships. People have to move, schools, lose children. And so this is what we've had to deal with. And I say all that to say, and whether we're talking about structural racism, whether we're talking about overt racism, over-policing, financial oppression, like through redlining, where they wouldn't even allow you to get a loan to purchase a home in your community. We've been targeted, even through the medical practices. Black people are more likely to die, when they go to the emergency room or when they have children. The high infant mortality rate amongst black children and black mothers, okay? It lets you know that we've been under attack. And so our culture has developed so that we can survive. Our culture is a culture of survival. And it not only have we survived, but we've thrived. I mentioned earlier and if we use finance as the metric, we as black Americans, and I believe it is the 17th largest economy in the world based on our $1 trillion+ spending every year. So not only have we survived, but we've thrived in a country that has tried to eliminate us, and this is largely because of our foundational black American culture. You see, and in our culture is what we're talking about here. It is our culture that has given us these cultural cues where we all come together at one time and remove the sellouts. It is our cultural cues and our way, which has allowed us to survive in this country for 500 some odd years almost, of over 400 years, going on 5, which comes together and says, in order for this generation to survive to the next generation, we need to do this, that, and the other. And we're all on cue with it, you see? And this is our culture, you see? Because again, and I kind of skipped ahead, culture, the most important thing about a culture, the key aspect is that it is supposed to teach, it develops so that the generation can survive to the next generation. That is the key cultural aspect, and when your culture fails, you know it because that group of people no longer exists. We've been here in this hostile environment as people of African descent and thrived because of our culture. And it's just highly disrespectful for people to come from other countries who benefit from the success of our culture to then tell us that we don't have a culture. It's very insulting. It's insulting to those of us who know, okay? But, that's one thing about our culture. And I want to make sure that black people, especially foundational black American people, recognize that we have contributed so much to this country, so much to the world. What we're doing right now is normal. It's a normal response. I don't want you to feel bad about calling people out for being, sycophants, stooges, sellouts. Don't feel bad about that. They deserve it. And all that's going to happen is we're going to teach the other ones who may do it, because truthfully, again, they do it for opportunity, they do it for finance, they do it for money, they do it for clout. They're not even genuine with how they feel, and the same goes for many other people who are extremists. I look at this young fella named Nick Fuentes, and if you listen to him long enough, he'll tell you exactly who he is. He's simply satisfying a niche, if you will. And I'm talking about the young, I think he's Italian or Mexican or something like that. He's out of Chicago. And when you listen to the young man, he's really, he's a little twit. You can tell him I say he's a little twit. I have no doubt that in about 10 or 15 years, he's going to end up with a big booty Latina somewhere counting his money, and she's probably going to be of African descent. And I say that to say, because I've heard it before, I heard the game before. Now, that does not mean he's not doing damage right now. And it is incumbent upon all you young folk, especially, to make sure you counteract that with knowledge, and you counteract that with research and education. That's part of what I do on my page. I make sure I throw the historical and the legal perspective out there and the sociological positions out there, so that you can use that to counteract those talking points and dispel those lies. We needed Charlie Kirk to be alive. Black folks, we needed him to be alive so that we could dispel his lies in front of an audience, so that these people would realize that now this is another one. He's not going to work. We saw Dr. Frances Cress Welsing dismantle so many open, hostile, racist in her lifespan, okay? And we need to do that. We saw Brother Malcolm X do it deliberately. We saw, and that's just in the political and the psychological field. What about what the Honorable Thurgood Marshall did with those other great black lawyers? They literally took a racist legal system, they used its rules, they used its theory, they used its laws, and turned it on its head and made the country do right by us. I want you to understand, the Constitution says that black Americans are 3/5 of human beings. Plessy versus Ferguson, all these other cases basically said that black people didn't even have rights that white people were supposed to, a white man had to abide by. Our great black lawyers, many of them HBCU graduates from Howard, took this same legal system on and fought through it and got this country, which is racist in its inception, to recognize us as human beings, at least on paper, as human beings with the same rights as everybody else. That is amazing. This is what our great scholars did. This is what our great black leaders and theologians and legal scholars and sociologists and doctors did. This is what they did with their time. Okay, so a pipsqueak like Nick Fuentes or Charlie Kirk, we should be able to dismantle their arguments with grace and with brilliance like our ancestors did. Never run from these arguments. Go hit these. I mean, yeah, the sellouts and the coons, they're too easy. That's easy work, okay? Because we already understand what their motivation is. They don't even believe what they're saying in the first place. They're just saying it because it gets them likes and views and helps make sure, their pocketbooks align. That's what sellouts do. But you, in order to win the argument in the public discourse, you have to challenge yourself to learn more. You have to challenge yourself to dig deeper. If it means something to you, and it should mean something if it doesn't make you feel good with people speaking ill about you and your people and your great culture that I just described, our culture that has helped us survive in this hostile environment where we are outnumbered, which makes us different than every other group of people of African descent. The Jamaicans, it's mostly Jamaican, they're all black. And Haitians, plenty of black folk in Haiti, Guyana, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda. All of these countries are black people black country is run by black people. It is only here in the United States of America that we as foundational black Americans are surrounded by white people who have been openly hostile to us through their systems, you see? Now, again, I'm not disparaging all white people because we've had great allies in the past. Much of the progress that we've made in this country has been because of our willingness, but we've also had white people who've helped. Many of them not necessarily on our side. I find that quite amazing too. Lincoln didn't necessarily think much of black folks, but he still signed that Emancipation Proclamation, you see? Several presidents didn't really think too much of us, but they still signed those executive orders and those laws into those legislative bills into law, and that helped us get to where we are. But nevertheless, we took it and strode, and here we are. But be proud of yourselves, but fight back, okay? And fight back with your minds. Use your brilliance. And, put these tokens and house Negroes and bootlicks and anybody and put them all in their place, man. There's nothing wrong with it. And don't hold back and don't feel bad about it. And when white folks step up to say crazy stuff and try to say this rhetoric, recognize that this is the same 19th century pseudoscience, racist bull crap that they've been saying for 100, 200 years. Don't fall for it. The problem with white people is this. They need to justify their BS, okay? White folk, y'all would have been, I want all the white people to come to the front of the room right now, okay? Had you not been as lazy as you are and been willing to do your own work in your own European countries, you would have not traveled across the Atlantic Ocean and conquered the lands of these native people and then thereafter brought Africans to this country to do your work. It is the problems that you have now is because you didn't want to do your own work. You didn't want to get out there in the field and labor. Matter of fact, they had reports saying that the African is better suited to do this work in this hot climate than we are. We can't do it. As much as you all talk about getting rid of people and people going back to home, the United States of America would break down but for the labor of the darker peoples in this country. This is not Europe. You barely could hold on to Europe. It's cold up there. You won't survive some of these Texas summers in Florida. You were going to have to stay in Minnesota and New Hampshire. And you realize that. That's why you all brought us over here. That's why you all still bring darker brown people and let them up through the southern border, because they serve a purpose for you, because you don't want to do your own work, because at heart you all are lazy folk. And that's the truth. You're lazy and you like to fight. And if nobody else around to fight, you'll fight each other. Look at the history of Europe. Look at all the violence that took place between the French and the Germans and the Germans and the English and the English and and the Scandinavians, the Northmen and the Germans and the Russians and the Slavs and everybody. All you did was fight each other all the darn time. You didn't spend your time cultivating land and natural resources. You wanted to go off to these other people's countries and conquer their lands. You mad because the Indians came or have taken over London. Well, what did you do to India for several decades? You mad at that? Why are you mad? You the ones that went down and invaded these people's country. And you told them just how wonderful and superior your countries are. And now they want to come visit. You had colonialism in Africa for hundreds of years. And now you're mad because the Africans have come to Europe. The irony is just sticking. You're angry because you're getting invaded by the people you first invaded. You deserve it. But nevertheless, to the white folks who are listening, look, the white supremacy is over. Your sellouts are being exposed. Without them, you're not going to be able to control the masses of the people. By your own invention, we are now able to communicate with each other across the world and compare notes. You can go and act as though you are, you can go be recluses if you so choose, and try to hide out in your little all-white towns, but that's not going to work because you can't put the roofs on your house and you need Mexicans fast. Okay, and because you're not willing to do that hard labor, you're gonna need black people for that. You all know yourselves better than we know you. You all get in there and it's just a bunch of white people. Who's gonna be the entertainment? Huh? It's gonna be your children. That's what you normally do. If you look at the FBI statistics, you use your children for entertainment, which was a horrible prospect. But the bottom line is, you're going to have to come back into the human family, whether you like it or not. And nature is always going to win. And that's what's going to happen in this story. It may not happen this year. It may not happen in 20 years, but it's going to happen. And trying to attempt to destroy the world because you can't control it and dominate it like you have done for this very short time period of the past 500 years, the jig is up, you see? And, again, we want to give every group of people their credit, the brilliance of the African who traversed the globe early on, the brilliance of the Asians and the Arabs who brought so much philosophy and theology to the world, the brilliance of Northern Europeans, who have demonstrated, if nothing else, how to organize the people and material of the world. Okay, and the problem that most people have, the people of the world have with Europeans, is you organize in the material and the people of the world, and then you hoarded it. That's the problem that most people have. But we all give credit to the brilliance of all of humanity. But at some point, we are going to have to come together as a species, as a group, and get along. Otherwise, we're destined to repeat the same cycle of civilization, then destruction, or civilization, then decline, then rebuilding the civilization, which we've done, dozens, maybe hundreds of times in the cycle of this earth, okay? But nevertheless, I appreciate everybody's time and energy. Shout out to everybody who's contributed to the Super Chat, the Cash App, and the PayPal. I will be back at some point in the near future. I got some really good broadcasts coming up. And I hope you all appreciate the historical bend that I've taken, because I like to anchor what I tell you all in history, so that you can see or understand a lesson that I've come to understand, that history does not necessarily repeat itself, but it does have an echo. And nevertheless, this is Uncle D, Dennis Sperling, with the Dennis Sperling Podcast. I certainly appreciate the time you spent here with me. And as I always say at this time, I'm out.